Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum. Welcome to our podcast.
Tie Your Camel.
Yes, with Sarah and
Farah. Why is this name Tie Your Camel for this podcast?
Okay, it's actually interesting.
Yeah, it's a very random idea that we came up with.
Yeah, we got inspired by the story of the man who asked the Prophet whether or not he wanted to tie his camel, leave it to Allah, or just leave it untied and then leave it to Allah.
Yeah, just pray without doing anything.
Yes.
Yes.
Then trust that his camel won't run away.
Correct. So what was Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu response to that?
Okay, so basically the Prophet said, "I'qilha wa tawakkal."
Yes.
Tie her and have trust in Allah.
Yeah, so there's 2 steps to the process in any effort that we take on.
Yeah, so we kind of want to make this podcast something about that.
Yeah, so basically we want our efforts to be realistic and spiritual at the same time. So there's this balance. And so this is the approach to this podcast, inshallah.
Inshallah. Basically, in the youth terms nowadays, it's probably finding the sweet spot between hustling and also just having faith lah.
At the end of the day, we leave everything to Allah. We put our trust that Allah will make them happen in His own time and in His own perfect planning.
All of us have our own camels.
Yes.
In our lives, and life won't be easy.
Life is never designed by Allah to be easy.
There will be ups and downs, and we have our fair share of ups and downs lah. And that's why we just we just want to sit here together and probably have conversations about this, inshallah, and hopefully it can benefit those who are listening as well.
Yes, inshallah. And we really hope with this effort that we're putting in, if this has in fact brought some value into your lives, we just want everyone's dua, and hopefully that we manage to practice what we preach also, inshallah. Yes.
Okay, before we start talking about deeper topics, right?
Yes.
Okay, I would assume that these people who are listening, they're thinking like, who are these people? Who are these cousins?
Yeah, these random people suddenly want to talk about like tying our camels.
Yes.
What do they know about camels?
Right. Maybe would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, inshallah. Okay, so I'll start off. Maybe I'll introduce myself, then you can introduce yourself after this. Okay, so my name is Farah, and just a short background about my upbringing, right? So I was born in Singapore, and then when I was about 10, 11 years old, I actually moved to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, because my father, alhamdulillah, he got a better job opportunity there. Then after that, when I turned about 17 years old, we all moved to Dubai because he got an even better job opportunity in Dubai, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
Then after Dubai, I did my bachelor's degree there, and then wanted to pursue my master's degree in psychology, and that's when I went to study in Prague, Czech Republic. And so I've been kind of like moving from place to place, and tak boleh duduk diam for some reason. So I've been moving, and it's been a very long journey, but alhamdulillah, it has some unique challenges and rewards as well. But I do appreciate the very global perspective that I had based on my experiences, even though it was not easy sometimes, but alhamdulillah, Allah's plan really has a lot of wisdom in it. My primary school education, I went to Madrasah Al-Junnah Al-Islamiyah. So after that, when I moved to Malaysia, I went into this International Islamic School. So that's the name. So on top of this, alhamdulillah, my mother also happens to be an ustazah, and she has a master's degree in Sharia law. Right?
Ooh.
Yeah. So my point is, tell me about it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that someday. But but alhamdulillah, Islamic education has always been part of my upbringing. Alongside this Islamic education exposure, I also did my bachelor's and master's degree in psychology. Yeah. So psychology has always been a great passion of mine. Ever since I was young, I was always curious about why people do certain things. Why do I do certain things? Always wanted to understand people a bit deeper. And I did a couple jobs in Singapore. I was as a program executive at a mosque in Singapore as well. And then after that, I worked as a counselor with families in need for 3 years. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I've been back in Singapore for the past 4 years. So I've been kind of familiarizing myself with the Singaporean context after being out of touch for 15 years of my life. I think it's really good to be home. So
welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Mashallah. What a colourful background. Similar to you, I also studied in a madrasah previously when I was younger. And but something different about me is I grew up in a Malay Muslim household in Singapore lah.
Alhamdulillah. So she's an expert at the understanding the Malay Muslim community here
in Singapore. Inshallah, yeah. I did about 11 years of studying in madrasah before diving into biomedical science in Polytechnic. That was where I was a little bit of culture shock because I was actually used to the madrasah environment. But, it's okay.
It must have been quite a culture shock. Yeah.
But yours must have been worse.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about culture shock some other day. Okay,
yes,
inshallah. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, then after that, I kind of dabbled into physiotherapy a little bit before finding my true calling, I would say.
True calling in life, yes.
Okay, I would say partly because I was inspired by, mashallah, mashallah, the sister, the cousin, the wife.
I am inspired by her as well, mashallah. She's a very intelligent, very mature young woman.
Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Yeah, but Alhamdulillah, now I'm studying psychology. And Alhamdulillah, I'm also part of the Singapore Committee of the International Students in Islamic Psychology, which is the ISIP. If you want to know more about Islamic psychology, that's the platform that you go to.
Yeah. So I think we can definitely agree that both of us, we have very strong passions in Islam and psychology. I think that's what we connect on. So that's why we would like to talk about the connections between Islam and psychology. Hopefully that's one of the objectives of our podcast.
Yes. Yeah. And we specifically want to focus more on the Singaporean context as much as we can, because we feel like there is a gap somehow in the knowledge that we have gained, alhamdulillah, and the knowledge that is being put out there is very alhamdulillah, it's quite big, right?
It's growing.
It's growing,
alhamdulillah. I mean, now I think compared to like 10 years ago, definitely there was a huge gap. Now I feel like people have a greater awareness of psychological help or psychological tools that are available out there, and they do try to appreciate it alongside the Islamic tools that we already have to nourish our well-being, basically.
And we hope that this podcast will help to empower ourselves first and foremost, but also other individuals who are experiencing the same things, struggling with the same things.
It's because we see that Islam already has all the answers. Alhamdulillah, Islam is a perfect and complete religion.
Yes.
However, we do believe that with the psychological research that is out there, that is growing and becoming more and more advanced as time goes on, I think what they do is they further complement, the findings that Islam already has, right? So, so it's not to say that, that there's this question like, kita kan dah ada Islam, why do we need psychology, right? We don't need psychology. Why? Like Islam already has all the answers. That is true. Okay, that is true. Islam is complete in and of itself, but there's no harm in further enriching our understanding of the human nature through the research and the psychological tools that we have.
That's true. And as long as it's within the boundaries, within the Sharia.
Yes, there's nothing wrong in seeking knowledge. In fact, seeking knowledge is an
obligation,
a sunnah in our Islamic tradition. So yes, we're going to definitely prioritize Islamic Sharia, Islamic knowledge, but we're going to further complement it with the psychological research so that our understanding of our well-being and human nature becomes even more comprehensive and holistic, inshallah.
Okay, since we're talking about Singaporean context, we actually want to go a little bit deeper.
Yes.
We want to narrow it down a little bit. The main objective of this podcast is also to clarify the line between culture and religion in mental health practices.
Yes, correct. Because as we know, we are the Muslim community. Alhamdulillah, Islam is technically like the default religion that most of us Malays have. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, most of us are born within this religion. And because of that, there's a lot of confusion between culture and religion. A lot of times we think, this is actually Islam or this is religious, but in fact it's actually more of a cultural influence, and we misunderstand that, and that's why it can create unnecessary harm sometimes.
Tension within the family as well.
Tension within the family, sometimes tension within ourselves, affecting our mental health, etc. But we think it's Islam, and in fact Allah never wanted to bring us into any sort of harm. So moving forward, we have a better understanding of where that line is.
Yes. And hopefully this can help to ease a little bit of the tension that some of us are experiencing.
Inshallah, that's the goal.
Yes.
Okay,
so for this podcast, Tie Your Camel, we'll be talking about topics like love, about childhood trauma.
Yeah, a lot of topics that I think most of us can relate to, and most of us probably struggle with as well.
Yes, and topics that are very closely related to upbringing, like culturally linked
culturally linked, correct? Yeah, and topics that are very close to our hearts, you know, very close to our emotions, very close to our mental health, right? Very close to our spirituality. These are usually things that really affect us, and can be very difficult to navigate when we don't have the knowledge and the tools and the awareness of how to navigate them in a healthy way. So so topics like love, childhood trauma, parenting strategies, what else we're going to talk about?
Many more, inshallah.
Yeah, culture shock. I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll think about the topics when they come. Maybe when we get a sensing of what would be helpful to us and also to the audience, we'll decide more. Yeah.
Yes, inshallah.
Inshallah.
If this podcast keeps going, inshallah.
If tak jadi lah.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay,
Allah's plan.
Allah.
We're tying our camels now.
We're tying our camels. Exactly. Then we will. Okay, inshallah. Very good.
Okay.
Yo.
So, the topic that we've chosen today is somewhat interesting lah. This topic is always mentioned wherever you go. It's always mentioned. It's always felt.
And we always see it everywhere.
Yes.
We see it in movies, we see it in music videos, we see it in like advertisements, like love.
Songs, poems.
Yeah, song is everywhere. Sorry. Love is everywhere. Love is in the air, as they say.
This topic is important enough to begin our podcast, our first episode.
It's something that everyone can relate to, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, so Farah, talking about love, there are so many kinds of love, like different types of love. Love for Allah, love for the Prophet. Okay, so what kind of love are we talking about today, actually?
Okay, so because it's the first episode, we want it to be very relatable to everyone, regardless of your age, race, religion, whatever, right? So we're not going to narrow it down to only one type of love. Like, for example, just talking about romantic love for this episode, at least, is really just human love or human connection. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay,
but very vague.
Where do we start?
Okay. I don't know where to start. Or maybe you can start by telling us your understanding of love.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Do we have like 2 hours? No, I'm kidding. Okay.
I don't think 2 hours is even enough.
Yeah. Maybe not, right? Mashallah. Okay, so my personal understanding of love. So ever since I was young, I've always wanted people to love me. Obviously, I think everyone probably, hopefully, who has some emotions, right? We all want love, right? So I always felt like, since I was young, like it's something I really, really have to strive for. Like I have to like sacrifice so many things. Like I have to like do a lot of things, like, you know, get out of my comfort zone to like, to make people happy, just to make sure that they don't abandon me, or they don't like, they don't get angry at me and then just like tell me to like leave and stuff like this. Like it's always been something that I felt like I had to work so hard for, right? So sometimes when I've given my all and then people end up like rejecting me or abandoning me or criticizing me, like, oh, you like this, you malas lah, you gini, you gitu, then it just like breaks my heart. I just feel like I'm not good enough for love. So
even after all the hard work,
even after like putting in so much effort, like pouring my heart and soul into something, and then just people telling you like you're not enough, you know. So that repeatedly in the past have always broken my heart, you know, like basically brought me like nights of just crying and stuff like this. So so it's been very difficult. And then as I got older, I started to meet people who would like ask me like, hey, how are you doing? And if I tell them like, oh, I can't give you this, you know, today, or I can't be this perfect person, instead of getting mad at me, they actually understand.
They're okay with it,
and they really accept me, even though I'm not perfect, even though I have all these flaws and, you know, all these different issues, right?
Mashallah, wonderful people.
Wonderful people. So then I'm like thinking like, hey, why is there such a difference? Why do some people love me in this way where I feel like even after giving my 110% it's not enough? And then these other people where they know who I am, they know all my darknesses, all my flaws, and you know, I've had moments where I failed them, I disappoint them, but then they still accept me and love me. And it's like, wow, that's such a liberating feeling. But then what is causing this difference? And this is the question that I've always asked myself. So yeah, it's a big question, right?
It is.
So so that is my personal understanding and experience with love. Maybe you want to share about yours now? Yeah.
Mine won't take 2 hours.
Oh really? Okay, interesting.
I say this, I didn't know what love was. I didn't know how it was supposed to look like. I didn't know how it was supposed to feel like, to be very honest.
Okay.
I used to think that love is this, you know, grand, romantic, dramatic thing you see in movies.
Okay, so it's all very vague for you.
It's very vague.
Okay,
and I kept asking myself, like, why don't I know what love is? Isn't it simple?
Yeah.
Isn't it all over us? Like you say, love is everywhere.
Isn't it obvious?
It's
right?
Isn't it obvious?
Okay, let's sing for a while. No, okay. Yeah,
but actually, when I was younger, I was a bit lost in that sense. Like I couldn't find the, if you could say, a compass to show me, okay, this is love, okay, this is not love, this is attraction. Yeah, you get what I mean, right? So when I get older, I realized that love isn't necessarily always loud.
Yeah.
I think love at its core should be ease. I mean, it should bring ease.
It's ease.
it's a bit cliche lah, but like
it's okay. We can be cliche here.
Yes, I feel like if you truly love somebody, it's not okay. It doesn't mean that love comes, true love comes and then everything is easy.
Yeah,
It's just that it's not forced. It's natural. It feels like even though you're going through ups and downs, you go through it with ease. You know, like for example, if you love Allah truly, somehow life itself feels easier. Like the struggles are still there, of course, but they don't crush us because we know, like we are not alone, right?
Okay.
Because
so it's supposed to be something that brings ease and comfort.
Yes, like Allah said, sakina, and like even in relationships with people, I feel like love should feel like that. It shouldn't feel like suffocation. It should feel like support.
Like something feels right in your heart.
Yes. It should be like a safe space where you can be yourself, where you can feel motivated, you can feel inspired to be better and without any judgment, you know?
It's a supportive type of energy, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. That's sounds like a very healthy form of love that you
Inshallah, hopefully lah.
Yeah, you've understood now. Alhamdulillah. So
but some other people might find that love means some other things for them.
Yeah, so everyone might have different experiences about love, and but I think I don't know, I might be wrong, but I just feel like after having shared our stories, so now we know that we've gone through confusions about love before. You know, we've been confused about what love is, and we know, for example, there's the type of love that is more related to struggle and like for example, a lot of highs and lows, and then there's also the love that is smoother and supportive and more related to understanding and comfort, right? So we now know, like, oh, maybe there's like a slightly less healthy version of love, and then there's the healthier version. And maybe the people who are listening may also understand this somewhat, depending on
trying to understand.
Correct. Or maybe they themselves have gone through some experiences related to this. So I think maybe it's something that people can all relate to. Yeah?
Yes, and it would be nice to hear from others as well. So if it's okay with everyone, if you want to share your experiences, okay, let's keep in touch somehow.
Yeah, we'll find a way to keep in touch.
Yes.
Inshallah.
We'll try to learn from each other, inshallah. It's not just us talking.
Yeah, we don't really know what we're doing actually.
We're still learning.
Yeah, we're all figuring things out. Okay. Yeah, but we do whatever we know. We try to talk about them and share with them, so that we gain pahala from it. And that's why we're doing this. Not because we have it all figured out, but because we want to learn and we want people to benefit from it.
Okay, so it's nice listening to each other's personal understanding of love. I mean, we talked about this before, but it's nice to know a little bit more about what you think love is and what I think love is today.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
And I can't believe people are listening to what we think.
This is so surreal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but talking about what people think about love. Do you think that it's funny somehow, our parents or our family, like maybe the Malay Muslim household?
What is their reaction to love?
What is their understanding of love? I mean, okay, I don't know about you, but for my family, I think it's a taboo.
It's a taboo, okay. So what kind of comments or what kind of thoughts have you heard, like, from your family about love?
Kau ni cinta jangan gatal you know, like when we listen to
cinta like that, right?
love songs and just like watching especially Malay dramas. No offense, but a lot of it is about love. We can watch that, right?
Absolutely. It's funny because like we all watch Malay drama about love, but then like when we talk about it, it's like super taboo and silly.
Yeah,
it's like, what the heck? This doesn't happen in real life or something, right? Yeah.
Okay, but talking about this, right? Do you think this is okay, I wouldn't say the right way, but is this an okay way to view love? Like, hey, let's not talk about it. But then boom, have kids and like get married.
But like, let's not talk about love.
Yeah.
But we built a family anyway, kind of thing, in spite of the fact that love is so taboo.
We should talk about this, right?
It's very interesting. So you spoke about your family, macam, oh, apa ni, cinta-cinta ni merepek, that kind of thing, right? Okay, funny, right? Because I remember when I was about like 13, there was this like love song coming out, right? And then this makcik lah, I'm not going to say which makcik. This makcik was like, kau dengar lagu ni? Ni semua merepek tau. Yeah, so it's a love song. I think it was a love song talking about like, oh, I remember it was All of Me by John Legend.
Ooh.
All of me loves all of you. Yeah, all this really beautiful words about love. I mean, like the comment that I heard from that makcik was like, kau dengar ni semua merepek tau. Kau jangan percaya ni semua merepek gini. Then I was like, what? Are you serious? It just like destroyed all my all the romantic ideas I had about love.
At 13.
Yeah, 13, correct. And then as I got older, it was always like comments like, oh, kalau nak kahwin, jangan macam jangan macam cinta-cinta sangat. Kau tengok selebriti-selebriti ni semua diorang pun cinta-cinta tapi akhirnya tengok diorang cerai juga. So cinta ni is like merepek lah. It's just nonsense, you know. Just go into it with a practical mindset. You know, like, and I was always like, what? Are you just like supposed to, you know, marry someone?
It's like a punch in the face.
Yeah, exactly. We're just supposed to get our feelings out of the equation altogether and just like, be super realistic and practical about it. And love is just nonsense.
Of course, you're not a Disney princess. Wake up.
Absolutely. We're just, I don't know who we are. We're just like too muchy trying to start podcasts. So.
Oh no.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, so that's what culture says about love. That's not what fact or science says about love.
Yeah, what does the science or what does Islam and what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about love? That's where we get the, you know, the real stuff, right? The truth. Yes, the guidance, inshallah, about love. So let's kind of take a look at them.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, so
us.
Yeah. So I'll be reading a long list of things, but I will try to keep it super short, okay, so I don't like bore anyone. Okay, so what they find is that first of all, being in a positive relationship with someone really enhance our physical health. Okay, so what they find out is that people with very strong human relationships, right, have a 50% greater chance of survival compared to those. So like basically when you're not in love or you don't have supportive relationships, you basically like half the time you're probably gonna die. This kind of thing is like, it's so important to our physical health and our survival, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then they also find out that loneliness is associated with a 30% increased risk of heart attack.
It's a concern that Singapore is trying to help with. That's why, do you notice that usually the chances of a single adult in Singapore buying a house is a little bit lower lah.
Yes, absolutely. And why is that? Maybe they just want us to like maintain relationships with each other.
And live longer.
And the fact that they have a housing crisis, they don't have enough space also in Singapore. So it's something that, I think Singapore probably is recognizing as well, you know. And so also they find out that widespread loneliness poses health risk as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes daily. Can you imagine that? I mean, smoking like one cigarette daily is already insane. I mean, okay, no offense to smokers out there, but like it's already considered like, you know,
dangerous
and unhealthy and everything. But now it's like, you know, if you're gonna be alone, you might as well just, you know, smoke like 15 cigarettes a day because you're gonna die anyway.
We are not encouraging.
Okay, no, we're not.
Anyone to smoke. Let's just be clear with that.
Okay.
But yeah, it kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, right? Yeah. So first of all, we already know like having supportive relationships really enhance our physical health. But moreover, right, basically, we also know that they enhance our mental health as well. And how do they do this? They basically, having all these really nice and supportive relationships, release this hormone called oxytocin. Okay, it fosters bonding, trust, and sense of security. So there's this kind of feeling of calmness.
It's the warm fuzzy hormones lah.
Yeah, the fuzzy hormones where we're just like with people that we love, and then we just feel like you know, very relaxed, right?
This is the ease that I was talking about.
Yeah, the ease that you're talking about. Yes,
it's called oxytocin.
Okay, absolutely. And then there's dopamine as well, which is the brain's reward chemical that makes us feel pleasure and satisfaction, right? So, you know, sometimes when you're with friends and then you're like laughing and then you're just like, oh my God, this is the best time ever, you know, or you're like watching a movie with your family or something, and you're just like, wow, you know, you're just feeling all this satisfaction and pleasure. And that's really dopamine's, help, right?
Pretty sure our dopamines are at peak now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why we're
mashallah.
Yeah, and on top of this, they also lower our levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, right? And so all these combinations really just very helpful to our mental health, and it really lowers our levels of stress and anxiety and depression, and just makes us look forward to life and have a sense of security, basically.
And all that is love?
In fact, all of that is love.
It's
the
love,
benefit,
mashallah.
associated with love.
Of having a social connection.
Social connections, positive human connections with people. And is this taboo?
But mashallah, I have to say, just now you came out with a percentage about loneliness, right? Yeah, and I have to say, with my interactions with a couple of my friends, a lot of us are actually lonely.
Yes,
and
we are very lonely.
It's a concern lah to think that loneliness is similar to smoking 15 cigarettes
every day.
And like all of us are lonely somehow.
Very lonely.
One time,
It's like we are surrounded by people, but we still feel alone.
Yeah.
And we have all these social media tools where we can like, add people and
Connect,
watch people's stories and stuff, but yet we're still feeling very lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that I think we should really tackle. We should really understand why are we feeling lonely and how do we avoid that? Because it is posing a lot of health risk,
And it's real. It's happening around us.
Yes, correct. I think this is something that we can talk about in detail. Why is it that we still feel lonely even though we're surrounded by people, and how do we feel genuinely connected in a real way, with people, not in a superficial way, not in a way where we're just like, watch people's stories, but we don't really connect, that is something we're going to talk about for sure. Yeah, in detail. Someday.
Inshallah, if this podcast keeps going.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay, so thank you, by the way, for sharing with us the scientific evidences of how powerful love is and how it can actually save our lives.
Absolutely, save our lives and our sanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
So and it's a very healing power of love, right?
Mashallah.
Yes, mashallah.
I think this brings us to in our religion in our religion we have primary sources and secondary sources.
Yes.
Okay, I would say just now it's a secondary source.
Yes.
Yeah, the science behind
the
it.
science.
But of course, I think we have to go back to the primary source.
Main source, from the creator himself, inshallah.
Yes, the truth, the guidance. Hudan lil muttaqin, inshallah.
Yes.
So can you help us, enlighten us a little bit with what does Islam say about love? Does it save our life as well? Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We can discuss about that. Okay, just want to jump in a little bit and say like you are really the expert in the Islamic tradition.
Yeah, Allah, but
so
no.
please feel free to like
people.
correct me or jump in anytime.
Or any of the listeners who are more learned in this field. I think it will mean a lot to us.
Yes.
To have us corrected.
Because we are learning as we go along this. We're not going to be the all-knowing or anything like that,
We're
right?
not, definitely.
Yes. Okay. So let's look at what some of the concepts of love that I've come across in Islam, right? So first of all, when we talk about love in the purest form, usually what comes to my mind is the love between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his wife Khadija.
Oh, mashallah.
This is like the famous love story of all time, right? So he was very in love with Khadija, right? Like as far as I know, right, like their relationship is so special where any stories related to their love is always about support. Right? It's like we always know how Rasulullah supported Khadija and he was so truthful that she fell in love with him. And then how Khadija herself supported him during the most trying times of his life, right? All the way to her death, right? And we know how he loved her so much even after her death that he even made Aisha jealous. Right? So we know that. And then, there was a time when Aisha would ask him like, hey, why are you always, talk about Khadija? You're always like, remembering her like years after her death. Like, what's going on? And then this is what he said about her, right? So he said, she believed in me when no one else did. She accepted me and Islam when people rejected me. And she helped and comforted me when there was no one else to lend me a helping hand, right? So he was so in love with her because of how kind and how supportive she was. And he was not, there was nothing taboo about it. When he said it, it wasn't like, oh no, not to be too in love with anyone, romance, There's nothing negative about love in this hadith, really. It was like him just showcasing the beauty of the love that he had for his wife and the love that his wife had for him. So now we know, like, oh, okay, so that's fine. It's fine to admit the benefits of love and the power of love. And it's fine to even grieve when that love is gone, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, so this is one of the hadiths that I think really highlights the benefit and the power of love.
But I like to think that it's interesting,
tell us about it.
It's interesting how he actually expressed this. He put it in words.
Yeah,
and he's
in detail.
I went, wow, mashallah. She believed in me when no one else did. Like,
she accepted.
Mashallah. He's
very expressive about his love, by the way, and his affection. Right? He was not embarrassed. He was not like trying to maintain like a macho strong type of persona. He was like, hey, she was awesome. I love her. What's wrong with that? You know?
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Something that we can all learn from, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. Yeah, so this is one of the love stories in Islam. Another love story that we know is written in Surah Yusuf. We know this is the love between a parent and a child. And we know like Nabi Yaqub alayhi salam was really, 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 loved his son so much, right? He loved Nabi Yusuf so much. And to the point when Nabi Yusuf was taken away from him, he actually cried so hard that he lost his sight, right? And then eventually, when the good news came, in Surah Yusuf, verse 96, it was said that فَلَمَّا إِنْ جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ أَلْقَاهُ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ فَارْتَدَّ بَصِيرًا. Right? So he was so overwhelmed with happiness when, the shirt carrying the scent of Yusuf was cast over his face, that he regained his sight.
MashaAllah.
Right? So
just the scent.
Just the scent, right? And that was healing enough for him to get his sight back. Right? So this shows like the healing power of love.
MashaAllah. Just now we heard a story about a powerful love of a husband and a wife, and now it's a powerful love of a father and a son.
Yes, MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. Yeah, I think it's very beautiful. And
it's beautiful.
This is being recorded in our history in Islam. And it's nice to see that these examples are what we should be emulating.
Yes,
right. And if they have love so powerful like this, we should also be able to accept these emotions.
Yes.
These big emotions that we feel. Love is not just merepek and kau cinta-cinta. Look at them, MashaAllah.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a purpose as to why Allah has created this emotion, right? And that purpose is a beautiful one because it's supposed to help us, it's supposed to heal us and support us in this journey, this very difficult journey in life, right? And there's nothing taboo about it, right? As long as we understand what it is. Yes. And this is what we're going to talk about further later.
Inshallah.
And in fact, Islam is painting love in a very beautiful way, and in a way where we should really emulate, as you have said.
Do you realize that while we're talking, since just now, we've been using the word love.
Yeah.
And MashaAllah, in Arabic, love is actually being described in so many words.
Oh, okay.
There are so many words in Arabic that means love. That has about the same meaning as love lah. Yeah, and it's about more than 20 words of it describe love actually. MashaAllah. So it's not just as simple as love. I love you. It's not as simple as that. So MashaAllah, in Arabic itself, there are branches of love. And to know that there are more than 20 of it means it's big. It's a lot. It's everywhere.
Yeah, so MashaAllah, right? I mean, this is just like wow, right? Growing up, we're always like, what the heck? Like, what is love? Like, merepek, all this. But in fact, it's a very valid emotion within Islam. And we know within the research itself, right, that it's highly powerful, highly beneficial and beautiful. So can we just like
love?
Can we not take it as a taboo topic anymore, please? Yeah, can we, like the younger generation, just be like, hey, it's okay, okay?
Hopefully, inshallah.
And another really beautiful verse in the Quran about love. Who knows about this? Like the very famous verse that's like in every wedding that we've ever been to, right? Which is Surah Ar-Rum, verse 21, which is saying that one of his signs is that he created for you spouses from among yourselves so that you may find comfort in them. Sakina, right? And he has placed between you compassion and mercy, which is mawadda wa rahma. Surely in this are signs for people who reflect. So can we just appreciate the fact that the Quran is highlighting the beautiful qualities of love, which is associated with comfort and peace and mercy and compassion, which is basically what the research previously already confirmed, right? So so this is something that I think basically just seals the deal already. Like, okay, can we just say love is beautiful, right?
Like talking about this ayat itself, you can unpack it and just talk about it for hours.
Yes, absolutely. And there's also a famous dua in Islam, which is رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, which means, O Lord, grant us from among our wives and offspring comfort to our eyes and make them an example. Make us an example for the righteous. So this is talking about how the love that we have for our wives, for our spouses and our offspring can bring comfort to our eyes. Basically, this is what love is, right? We know now that it's a valid emotion and there's nothing wrong with it. I think we're running out of time, however, so I think we can wrap up here. And in the next episode, inshallah, we'll dive deeper into what are some of the unhealthy forms of loving and some of the healthier forms of loving. And we will really try to unpack that for you and for us, inshallah.
Inshallah. MashaAllah. Today we have covered so much, but it's still so little.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a lot to talk about this, man.
Yes, inshallah, if the opportunity permits, then we will talk more about this. And of course, we are still going to learn more about it in our lives as well. And hopefully other people who are listening to this can benefit from this. And we just have to say that we are not experts in this.
We are definitely not.
We're just two cousins sitting down here, just want to
having a chat,
rant.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we just want to share our knowledge, whatever knowledge that we have, in spite of the limitations that we have. I think it's always good to spread whatever we know, right? To obtain pahala and to have these reminders for ourselves as well. However, just want to say that whatever we say or whatever we do, obviously they're not perfect. So please take home with you the messages that resonate, the messages that are very good, and just leave whatever nonsense that you might hear from us. Okay,
may this be a beneficial knowledge and not just a random merepek knowledge. Hopefully that will benefit us in the dunya and the akhirah,
inshallah.
So as a tradition of this podcast, actually, Farah, before we wrap up, we would like to end this podcast with a dua.
Yes, a dua that is related to the theme of our topic, right?
Yes. Okay, so the dua is not foreign to the people who are listening, I'm pretty sure. It's a dua that everybody is willing to make because we want ultimately the pleasure of Allah. Whatever love that we're talking about, ultimately the love of Allah is the one we want to work for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So without further ado, okay, let's end this podcast with a beautiful dua. And it goes like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbaka wa hubba man yuhibbuk wa hubba amalin yuqarribuni ila hubbik. Okay, so oh Allah, I ask you for your love and the love of those who love you, and for the love of every action which will bring me closer to your love.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Hopefully whatever that we talked about today, at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is Allah's love lah. Hopefully,
because that is the source of everything good in our lives, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. Take care.
And of course, we hope that the listeners can start reflecting as well and probably leave some comments.
Yeah, just leave some comments or questions that you may have. We welcome any feedback, and as we said, we're open to learning.
Or whatever topics that you're interested in that you would like us
keep them coming.
Talk about. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you as well.
So we're not the only ones tying the camels here. Everyone can tie the camels as well, so that we learn from one another.
Mashallah. Okay, so this is Sarah.
And I'm Farah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast where psychology meets tawakkul. And catch you guys on the next episode of
Tie Your Camel.
See you inshallah. Assalamualaikum.